Hi, my name is Ryan Christensen, and this is a video going over all the features of GeoGebra Classic. Our video is a little long, so if you want to know about one of these topics, just fast forward in the video till you see an outline corresponding to the colors that are right here. I know you're probably not going to use all the features, but you can go quickly find the one that you do want to learn about. Thanks for watching. This is how you graph things in GeoGebra. We're just going to do a real quick introduction to it. Click on graphing there. We can type in y equals x, throw a squared on there, plus 2, and boom, we've got the graph of a parabola. Goes through the y-axis at 2 there, just like we normally would with any other calculator. What we can also do is we can do y equals x squared plus, and I'll say k. It gives me the option to create a slider, and I now can control the y-intercept of that function. I can shift it up and down. So you can put in pretty much anything that you can graph, you can put it in here. This is a two-dimensional graph. And if you want to, say, delete something, you right-click it and delete it. Things can tend to get out of hand in this column, so don't be afraid. Right-click something, delete it. You can turn it on and you can turn it off right there.
All right, the next mode we're going to look at is the geometry mode, which is probably one of the main features of GeoGebra. When you click on geometry, one of the first things that comes up is this help. And just about anything you click on, it will bring up another tab and open that up and provide for you tutorials. So if you ever get lost on how to use a certain tool, you can certainly click on those tools and it'll provide for you a tutorial. So first thing I'm going to do is bring up an axis and a grid. And notice right away you can actually change those to polar or rectangular coordinates. So we're going to stick with the rectangular for now. And all of these tools over here allow you to do different things. Clicking on the different points, the first one is a point, and it allows you to find the midpoint or center and a couple other things which aren't too important for geometry. The next one, the line tool, allows you to create lines, segments, rays, even vectors if you're more advanced. Again, noticing if I'm highlighting vector, it brings up that help screen down at the bottom. The next tool here creates perpendicular lines, parallel lines, perpendicular bisectors, angle bisectors, and so on. So very powerful. I'm going to click on this polygon and we're going to create a triangle real quickly. So I'm just clicking on 3 points. Notice when I click on the third, it doesn't actually close because it could continue to make any size of polygon you want. So the third, if I'm going to close it, I have to click right back onto the original point. So there's my triangle. Now, what else can you do? You can find the angle measure of any of those angles. So clicking on those 3 points, there's my angle down there at the bottom. And notice it actually found the exterior angle. If you go in the opposite order, it'll find the interior angle. So I'm just going to highlight this outside one, the exterior, and delete it. There we go. Okay, here this angle is 31 degrees, and you can obviously move those labels just about anywhere. You can hide them, and there you go, show and hide the label, show and hide the object, so you can hide a certain side or a point or whatever you'd like as well. Other things you can do is find the distance, and that is a pretty common geometry topic, finding distance. So that's 5.83. If I drag that point somewhere else, let's see if we can make it a nice easy number for us. 3 and 4, so that Pythagorean triple is what I'm looking for. There we go, 3, 4. Now that distance is 5. So if I go 3 over here, 4 down, and now that hypotenuse or that side is a length of 5. Let's see what else it can do. It can find the area. It can find the area of our triangle by just tapping on it. So again, something to note If you are a geometry teacher and you're giving this tool to your students, you're providing them a way to find the answers, to find the area, the length, the angle, whatever it may be. So very powerful, but just recognize again what it all can do. Another tool I haven't clicked on yet is a circle. Very simple. It'll drop a circle just about anywhere, or one with a given radius. So very powerful. I'm going to stop there. It is pretty user-friendly, especially the geometry mode. So I highly suggest you use this in your geometry class. We're going to take a look at the 3D graphics that GeoGebra provides. Again, when you first time you come in here at 3D graphics, if you see at the bottom of the screen, it'll give you some help. If you click on it, a new tab opens and the 3D graphics quick start comes up. If you look under the table of contents, it'll give you several tutorials that you can look through. Going back to the 3D graphics screen, again, several of these tools will look familiar to us from the geometry mode. You can see the pointer, the point making tool, the lines, the perpendicular and other geometry tools, the polygon. But we really were thinking about 3D. And so what I'm going to build first is a sphere, one of the easiest 3D objects. Clicking just 2 times will provide a sphere. Also, a cone, very simple. It'll let you click 2 times and then it'll ask for a radius. I'll do a radius of 4. Cylinder is also very simple. Again, clicking twice allows me to create a cylinder. I'll do a cylinder also with a radius of 4. The prisms and pyramids do get a little tricky, but be patient and I think you'll be able to work through those. Here's some more tools that look pretty familiar. The angle and distance and area are familiar. Of course, the volume. So here you go. There's the volume of a single object. You just click, and there it is. Another nice feature is this 3D graphics. Again, these zooming in and out are familiar features, as is you saw them in geometry. But the 3D graphics view allows you to spin and see those objects as if they are indeed 3D. So I always appreciate seeing those. And it helps give perspective of those different objects. Now that I've spun it, I've kind of messed up my axes, but I can always come over here to the right and click home, and it'll get me back to the original view. That highlights just a few of the features that 3D graphics provides. I hope you enjoy them.
The next thing we're going to look at is spreadsheets. We're going to come down here, click on spreadsheets. And if you have students that are collecting data or anything like there's a word problem where there's a bunch of data, you can have the students enter in their data right here, just like they would in any Excel. And I'll just put in some random numbers, 5, 6, 7, 4, 7, 8, or like that. You've got some data. Now, in my mind, there's 2 different ways you're probably going to be graphing this data. The first would be on a XY axis like this. So what you're going to do, grab it and click, what do we got here? List of points. We click that. It's going to give us some other options. We can mess with the X and the Y and all those things, but we'll hit create and we'll look and we can pan up. Yeah, all of our data is right here. Looks good. And we've got all of our other tools from our geometry sections. We could draw some lines, connect dots, illustrate things, whatever we want. If you're in more of a statistics situation and you want to handle these a little bit different, you're going to want to highlight these, and we're not going to be looking so much at this. Maybe we're looking at 2-variable regression or any of these other statistic things. And when you click on that, it creates a whole different window. And this is something I was kind of surprised to see. It handles it in a total different scatter plot. So things get really messy really quick. So you'd probably not want to have your XY graph open while you're messing with this data. You're going to come here and you're going to be looking at your regression your scatter plot, and you've still got all your tools that you can mess with things. But that's a real quick overview of how spreadsheets work. This is where I would gather data in a stats class. The next thing we're going to look at is this CAS mode, which stands for Computer Algebra System. We're going to click on that, and things start to look a little different really quick. So I'll just throw you an example real fast and kind of show you how powerful this could be. I'm going to throw in a system of equations, and equals to 11, enter, and I'll make up another one real quick. 2x plus, we'll just say 2y is equal to 7. Got those two equations right there. Now, if you understand how systems of equations work, you'll know that there's probably a decently easy way to solve this with your matrices and all these things. But what a computer algebra system can do is I'm going to check both of these. Oh, what do you know? There's graphs right there. They're on now, and you can physically see where the lines are going to cross, so that can help students. But what we can do is I'm going to hit Shift, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to come up here to where this x equals is. I've selected these two. I'm going to come to where the x equals is, and what this is going to do is what it does is it solves it. It does the actual algebra that's right here. We've got our point. It's right there. If I turn everything on, you can see all the lines cross. They cross right there. Now, my advice to teachers would be, you may not want your students to use this. You may want to tell them, or you may not want to tell them. I would hesitate to show this to, say, an Algebra 1 or Algebra, maybe depending on what time of year, the Algebra 2 student. This is a good, if you're doing any kind of discrete math, I think this is an important place for this. So I don't know if you're always going to want to use it. For calculus students, we have derivative and integrals up here. We've got a lot of options. You may want your kids using this. You may not. Which leads us into our next situation is if your students do know how to use this computer algebra system, and if you're letting them use this during an exam, that could be a good thing. You might want your kids to use GeoGebra during an exam, but they can go into exam mode and you can have them turn off that mode so they're not using their computer algebra systems. Maybe you don't want 3D graphics for them either, so you can shut those off and they can start their test and they can be working on this right here. And the nice thing here is if a student is working on their test and they navigate away from the test, we click on here and oh, it's gone. It shows up red. It lets the teacher know that the student is not engaged in that window anymore. They might, if you want to monitor what websites they're going to, this is a good way to, it's kind of a red flag that says, hey, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. It also shows that the computer algebra system is not enabled, and neither is the 3D mode. Student can come back in here, they can click, and they can see, oh, that's when the exam started. 12 seconds in, they left, and then 41 seconds in, they re-entered it. So you can see how long they were gone, and maybe they have a reason, or maybe they don't, and they're accessing things they shouldn't. Okay.
All right, I'm going to take a look at the probability mode in GeoGebra. The first thing that comes up is this little help menu, and it will open a new tab. The tab will provide for you two quick starts, the probability and statistics quick start, and it provides for you tutorials on how to use the different features within this mode. I'll go back to probability now, and there are the two different tabs, distribution and statistics. We'll look at the distribution first, and in this drop-down menu you can choose the different distributions. Binomial is a pretty common one, so you might use that one. Student is actually one you can change to make just about any type of graph. Chi-squared is also a popular one if you're in a statistics class. But I'm going to go back to normal for now, and what it does for you, this will find the area underneath the curve. So right now, with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1, it is finding the area from the left tail here all the way to 0. And you'll notice it's half, it's 50%. It'll also find between two values. So if you wanted to go from -2 to 2, that area is 0.9545. And so it'll also find the right tail, and that's what the distribution tab does for you. It finds the area under the curve. Quickly moving to the statistics tab, this allows you to run just about any of the tests that happen in statistics. It'll also provide you a way to find these estimates, which are the confidence intervals, and then the goodness of fit and chi-squared test as well. These are pretty high level and advanced topics you might find in an AP statistics course and not typical of a general high school course. However, they are quite advanced features and very, very user-friendly.
I'm Mike, and I'm going to show you how you can share assignments with your students by creating an account on GeoGebra. So I'm going to go to sign in on the GeoGebra website, and you could click create an account here. I am just going to sign in as myself, and this brings me to my profile. So how your profile is set up, your worksheets are going to be in this area. You can see I have the one created. There are also many featured materials that you could search through and find what you would like to use for your class. You can search through more of them by clicking on more, or you can search up here at the top. Other things we can do, we can create new assignments, so they're called worksheets. You can also create books, which would just be a collection of worksheets. Rather than creating a new worksheet, I am just going to edit the one that I currently have. So I have those three dots there. I'll click and we'll go to edit worksheet. So as you can see, I've constructed a quadrilateral, and I've titled this one parallelogram. And I'm going to add an element to this. So this is where I can put in text, videos, I can put in more GeoGebra constructions, images, PDFs, links to the web, and questions. So that's what I'm going to put in, a question for my students to answer. So I'm going to say, move the points to make a parallelogram. And my question is going to be, how do you know it is a parallelogram? Okay. And I have options here. I can leave it as an open question. I can give them multiple choice as well. I'm going to leave it as open, and I'm going to hit done. So now I've created my question, and I'm going to save and close as I'm satisfied with this assignment. So now I'm going to share with you how to get that out to your students. So if you want to, you could have groups on GeoGebra itself. You can create new groups by going over here. I'm not going to create a group. That's something that they have access by just typing in a code, and then they can go from there. I'm going to actually share on Google Classroom. So I'll click the three dots again. I'll go up to the very top where it says share. And I'm going to go to link. And I have all these options here, and I'm going to go to Google Classroom. So this is synced up with my Google account. So I will just select the class that I want. And I can put instructions in there like due tomorrow. And I will click assign. So as that gets going, I'll next get over to my Google Classroom, and I'll hit refresh. Now you can see that it has shown up in my stream. So it's just like any other assignment on Google Classroom where students go in, complete it, and turn it in.